In this video, let's talk about consumerism. So what is consumerism? It is the preoccupation of society with acquisition of consumer goods. So consumerism is a very damaging thing to us as individuals, because what you end up doing is that you have purchased a lot of useless stuff, and this prevents you to build your wealth and prevents you to actually enjoy a happier life. So even if you may be thinking, if I purchase this car, or I purchase this clothing, I purchase this bag, this will make me happier. Maybe it makes you happy in 30 minutes, in 1 hour, but in the long horizon, it would be very, very damaging to your personal enjoyment, to your wealth, and to what is actually important to you. So let's talk about this topic in more detail. So the world doesn't always look like the world we have seen today. So maybe let's start with the history of consumerism. In the 1920s, we know that in the US we have Great Depression. And business people are very worried about Great Depression, because when nobody is spending money, the capitalists, they cannot make any money. So business people are concerned. And what many business people reckons, that the greatest economic problem is not that the economy is bad, is that people do not want to spend money. So the lack of consuming power is what many people back in the day thinks as the cause of the Great Depression. So that's why it's called the greatest economic problem. So many economists back in the day proposed some interesting solutions. So their solution is to educate workers a new skill. What is the new skill? It's the new skill of consumption. So buying stuff is not what comes naturally to people. You have to be educated, you have to be taught, you have to be manipulated and shaped to become a good consumer. So how is this done? How can you manipulate people to become a consumer? How can you persuade or force people to spend money that they have earned through their hard work? You use advertisement. To augment and accelerate this process of educating you to become a consumer. So people are encouraged to give up frugality. If you know some economic theory, you may know that when a nation as a whole spends more money, then the economy would grow. So if you follow this argument, then by being frugal, you are actually harming the economy. You are reducing the overall output of your economy. So it is actually a bad thing. This is what the capitalist tries to educate you. It tries to make frugality looks like a bad thing to the economy and encourage you to spend everything you have earned to buy stuff that you may not necessarily need. So you need to work longer term, you need to work harder, and then they can also make more money from you. So I guess from this perspective, the education has been indeed very, very successful. So people are educated to value goods, to value stuff they own, etc. So a very important channel for they to encourage you to consume more is through envy. Maybe people around you are driving around in luxury cars and you become jealous. And so you have purchased a luxury car as well. So that's how you use envy to incite consumption. So let's talk about this point in more detail. Why do you desire certain things? Let's think about this. Why do you desire fancy cars? Why do you desire watches? Why do you desire the latest iPhone, bags, etc.? So why does people know that cars like Mercedes, like BMW, like Range Rovers have the worst reliability of all car brands in the world, have the worst depreciation of all car brands in the world? Why does people still want to buy those cars when in fact it is an inferior product? It is through advertisement. Don't underestimate the power of advertisements. Big companies like Apple, BMW, Mercedes, Hermes, Louis Vuitton, they spend billions of dollars every year on advertisement. If advertisement is not useful, they are not going to spend any money on it. So it is a very powerful thing. So in what way is advertisement powerful? It manipulates your opinions, your thoughts, your actions. Imagine you saw an advertisement about BMW cars. It emphasized the driving dynamic, emphasized the amount of technology innovation in their cars, emphasized that only successful people can drive these cars. So that's all emotional appeals. It's designed to target the emotional part of your brain, not your logical part of the brain. Because you know the car will depreciate, lose 60-70% of its value within a few years. So logically, you would not buy any cars like that. But because of this strong emotional appeal that the advertisement generates, you may be persuaded to purchase their cars. And that's what many people do. Millions of people purchase luxury cars every year because of this emotional attachment or these emotional appeals. So although objectively it may not be as good, but advertisement have successfully manipulated your opinions and thus manipulated your actions. So in other words, via advertisement, a thing is desired not for its intrinsic worth, but is a symbol of social position or success. You may not agree with me, but I will show you one argument. Why does luxury cars depreciate so much? Why is this the reason? If you go to your local car dealer on Facebook Marketplace, and then you search these two cars, you may be surprised to find that the 2007 Toyota Corolla is actually more expensive than the 2007 BMW 3 Series. And back in the day, this car, when it is new, was around 80,000 Australian dollars. This car, around 20,000. So what explains this difference? Well, I think when car becomes old, it is no longer a symbol of social position or success. So in used car market, people value the utility that the car can bring. People value its intrinsic worth. When the car is new, it is a symbol of your social position and success. So the fact that a 2007 Corolla is even worth more than the BMW of similar age really tells you that although Toyota is intrinsically a better car than BMW, because of the successful advertisement strategy of BMW, it has successfully persuaded people that it is a social position, it is a symbol of your success. So people are willing to pay 4 times as more when the car is new. But objectively, it is actually inferior, as implied by its used residual value. Another implication of consumerism is we live in a society where the purpose of your life is not defined by what you have done, but in what you own. People use credit card debt to purchase stuff. They use car loans to buy new cars. And they need to work very, very hard to repay those debts. So in this sense, the purpose of their life is to repay the loans they have made to purchase what they have, to purchase their cars, their watches, clothing, designer bags. They do not actually consider what impact they have made on society, what positive contribution have they made. They only focus on what they have and what they could have. So they are kidnapped by their desire. And this desire is not people's intrinsic desire. It is shaped by advertisement. It is shaped by society around you. So I have no problem if you intrinsically desire luxury products. But the reality is, your desire has been manipulated by the society. So it is not what you actually want. It's what the society, what the capitalists, what the rich people want you to desire. And that is the problem. What you desire is what rich people wants you to desire. That's the problem with consumerism. And many people can't even realize this. So let's look at how spending is funded. So how people can afford those kind of products. Let's look at savings rate in America. In the 1960s, about 10.2%. So you save 10.2% of your disposable income. If you earn 100K after tax, you save $10,000 roughly. And now, savings rate is 4.6%. So your spending on consumer goods is partially funded by saving less. This is perhaps less damaging. The more concerning development is the rise of credit card debt. In 2003, so around 20 years ago, $0.7 trillion, and now it's $1.166 trillion. We will talk about debt in great detail in subsequent videos, but keep in mind, credit card debt usually have around 20% interest rate. So consumerism is really good for the capitalists and for the bankers, since they can earn 20% on every dollar you have borrowed using credit card. So it seems like you are the product of consumerism. Although you are consuming stuff, you think you are consuming stuff. If you look from a bigger perspective, you have been consumed by the capitalists. Over 25% of Americans have less than $500 in savings. over 80% of new car sold in US is financed. Very stark two pieces of statistics. It shows the extent of consumerism in developed world and how much consumers have been harmed by this brainwash. Maybe I use a further example to show how much money you would lose by embracing consumerism. In Australia, 2024, so a new BMW X5 is around $140,000 straight away. I have checked on the used car marketplace in Australia 10 years ago, so 2014 BMW X5 is now worth about $25,000. So this represents a depreciation of almost $10,000 per year by just owning this particular car that you have been manipulated to think is a luxury product, when in fact it is just a piece of very unreliable machinery. A new iPhone 16 Pro starts from $17.99 in Australia. A used iPhone 14 Pro just released 2 years ago. You can buy them easily for around $800. So that's another $1,000 lost in just 2 years. So if you choose to buy those kind of stuff, how is this possible that you can accumulate wealth? You just lose more than $10,000 alone on this vehicle every year. It is very saddening to see that such things happen to many working class and honest people. So I think in personal finance, why so many people go into this kind of trap is that there are so many contradictions there. So the contradiction here is that things makes you look rich will actually make you poor. And because of advertisement or manipulation done by those powerful people, you're only able to look at this part and then you ignore this part. You ignore that by buying things like this, you are actually losing huge amount of money every year. But the emotional appeal is so strong. Everybody desire to look rich. It is just human nature. But the consequence is that you are actually becoming poor. So who gets the benefits? it's the rich people, it's the capitalists. And more importantly, it's those who hold assets. And by assets, I do not mean depreciating assets like cars. I will talk more about this in subsequent videos. So what are the solutions? So the first thing I think you need to recognize is don't define yourself by what you own. So essentially, the advertisement wants you to define yourself by what you own. So you need to undo this brainwash, undo this manipulation. Don't define yourself by what you own. Focus on what is important. Maybe it's friendship, family, or health. Those things are intrinsic to you. Those things are actually what gives you happiness. Consuming stuff would not give you happiness. It will only give you anxiety and a huge amount of debt. I think the second point is even more important. Is to understand consumerism. So understand that this consumerism is actually a manipulation of your actions, of your beliefs. If you can understand, then you can make a conscious choice. So you know that it is actually a manipulation. And if you still are okay with that, then I think it is a rational choice. The third thing is that income does not mean wealth. If you earn a high income and you spend all of your income, you are as poor as someone who makes no income. Because the end result is the same. Only the leftover income, so your savings, is equal to your wealth. The last point is just to recognize that there will be people who is richer, better, smarter, more successful than you. It is just a fact. There are 7 billion people on Earth. Surely someone will be richer, better, smarter, more successful than you. Unless you are the richest people in the planet. And even that is changing every year. So don't compare. You will never win this game. Then just don't participate in this game. Don't compare. Just be yourself.